Hey everyone, I'm just popping in here super quick to let you know that the video you are about to watch is pretty different from my usual stuff. Rather than a scripted video essay, it is actually a completely unscripted interview with my ex-girlfriend. I'm putting this out here for a few reasons. So for one, this is right at about a year of me making YouTube content, and to go along with that, I have recently passed 1,000 subscribers, and both of those are pretty big and exciting milestones for me, so this seems like a pretty good way to celebrate. Also, as you can see behind me, there have been some pretty big changes. Namely, I have just completed a pretty massive move. And so because of everything that is involved in a move like that, I have not had time at all to research or write or edit the type of video I usually make. So this lets me get something out while I settle in. It is a video that honestly means a lot to me, and the reasons why should be pretty obvious as you get into it. So I'm hoping y'all enjoy it too. So enjoy. Scary, but free ball it I shall. All right, so the reason why we are doing this, and I have nothing prepared whatsoever except for a few questions. This is something I've always wanted to do, and even before I started a YouTube channel, actually. So, actually, can you introduce yourself first? And you can use whatever name you want to use, and we can jump cut whenever you've come up with a name.
Does it matter? Now I'm scared. Why
doesn't
why
matter.
do people choose one or the other?
Some people prefer more anonymity.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I love the fame. Just kidding.
You think that?
But, well, I give my username they have access to.
That's true.
My profile is not private.
So,
okay.
if you can introduce yourself with the name that you have chosen to use.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Gina.
And Gina, who are you?
I am Mila's ex-girlfriend / current best friend.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a type of video that I've wanted to do for a long time, just for me. I don't know if this is ever going to make it out anywhere other than my hard drive. I will probably use at least pieces of it, or maybe it'll just be amazing and we'll decide we have to upload it tomorrow or something. This is also the very last video that is ever going to be recorded in this room.
You're right.
Yeah, pretty cool. So I thought it would be a pretty cool idea to interview you. It has now been it's been about 2.5 years since I came out to you as trans, at which time we were dating, and now we are no longer.
Correct.
But we have been roommates throughout that time. For the last 2.5 years, we have lived as roommates. And at the end of this week, we are going our separate ways physically, and we'll no longer be living in the same house. But obviously, we're still going to be BFFs. So this is a great time to do an interview like this, I think, if only for my own archival purposes. So how do you feel about this?
I'm excited, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I want to have this for my own selfish reasons to be able to look back on. And just to be able to spend this time with you in general is nice.
Mm-hmm.
And also just kind of excited to talk about whatever you have to ask me.
So I wrote some questions down literally 30 minutes before. We've been planning this interview for about a month now, and I didn't actually start doing anything for it until 30 minutes prior. So you can tell how much thought I have put into it. But I don't know. We don't have to stick to the script or anything. Prior to me coming out to you, could you describe our relationship prior to that?
Yes.
I mean, so we were dating for almost 2 years, or almost 3 years before I came out to her. So I'm asking her to condense 3 years into X number of minutes. Yeah.
So before you came out to me, honestly, our relationship was how I would describe it and have always described it. Is I would say it was absolutely perfect, except for one little aspect. But we'll get to that. So as far as like my friendship with you and the way we communicated with each other, I thought was great. like actually healthy. And you know, Milo's the type of person who would do anything that I needed, like anything she could to just make sure I was happy and help me out. It was never a question. She would just be there. And I was the same way for her. So for the first time, I had a relationship where I felt like I was with somebody who would give me just as much as I gave them, which was nice. And honestly, how I felt when we first started dating, I remember telling my sister that I was like, it's like if I start dating this one, like I'm gonna have to settle down, get married, like throw in the towel. Like I don't know if I want to do this because I don't know if I want all that. I honestly said that like before anything even happened.
Yeah, you told me that. Early on, actually.
So if that tells you anything about how just like strongly I felt about this person, like that should tell you something. And just very laid back. We were very casual, like really just spent time with each other doing what we enjoyed doing, which was very basic things like watching Netflix and going outside, Game of Thrones, Adventure Time, like all these little things that we, very mundane things, but we made them special for us. So there's that. And then the other little aspects would be our sex life was pretty much non-existent. So from the very beginning, that was the one thing for me that I was like, you know, we might need to investigate this a little bit. We had some good moments. Moments. We had some good moments. Maybe not any finishers, but we had some good moments. So yeah, which was very fun. But I would say that out of any area of our relationship that was lacking, that was the only one, really.
Absolutely. So you have brought up the moments, and we might cut out these little bits, or we might keep them because awkwardness is adorable. At any point, if you want to turn it on me, I don't want to make you just sit here and talk for however many minutes.
I don't want to just talk either.
Yeah, I know you don't. Yeah. So it's just a conversation where we happen to have an awkward camera that we're staring at the whole time. I don't know what to do whenever I'm listening. Do I look at the camera? Do I look at you? This is not my typical format at all. So we're all learning. How long into the relationship did you start to suspect something?
Well, I don't know that I've ever told you this. What?
Ooh. It's exciting.
Well.
So the next question was going to be, is there a single moment that stands out to you that you remember as being like a first moment that you had a thought of something? But I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Any of this can be cut.
That's true.
And also, as just like a disclaimer, this might be offensive to you. And so, but also know up front that like my intentions are very good, and we discussed this before, to like be as honest as we wanted to be during this interview. So whenever
100% honest,
I had a friend who kind of hooked us up, right, and kind of was like, hey, maybe y'all should try to, get together, right? So
I think you have told me this.
But anyway, whenever he first said that, I was like, oh yeah, like they're cute, but like, have they ever dated anybody really? Like I, to be honest, kind of thought you maybe were gay for not girls. And so I didn't know, and I was like, yeah, sure. So like, let's try. But so I kind of wondered that at the beginning, just because I don't know if you know this, but her sister is like my best friend. We grew up with each other through elementary school.
Yeah, I dated my little sister's best friend, so.
Yeah. So she's just like a mystery person to me for all these years. I never really knew of her to date anybody really, except for one person. So I had some doubts from the beginning, just like relationship-wise, how you functioned or what you do. But then you said, is there one specific moment that gave it away?
Was there a moment that you... So those thoughts that you had even from the beginning, that they were, I guess, they started to be validated.
We had some validating moments. One of them, though, would be, I do remember, I don't know how it came up now, but I do remember we had a conversation where you essentially told me that you had a fetish.
That's true.
I remember very vividly Like, I don't know how it came up, but, like, you were very clammed up. Like, you did not want to talk to me. You were acting like you were going to tell me you murdered somebody. Like, literally, like, all I knew is she was being really quiet, laying in my bed beside me. I was like, what's wrong? And she's like, you wouldn't talk, couldn't talk. Like, would just... and just sigh and sigh, which annoyed the piss out of me. I'm like, just tell me. So eventually she was like, okay, well, I have this fetish. I'm like, okay, great. Like, bring it on, baby. Like, let's spice it up. I'm ready for it. Like,
so
what
you
is
thought.
it? So I thought. But then, so it started out as, you know, explaining she had this fetish where she would wear women's clothing or be in, like, a woman's makeup, and, like, how that just, like, seemed to really turn her on, and that she was like, I know it sounds weird, but it's just a fetish. I can't explain it. Like, it's just something that I discovered, like, when I was in Arizona that, like, I like, and you know, but you could tell she was very bothered telling me this. She didn't want to tell me this, but then in my mind, I'm like, oh, well, if it's just a fetish, like, why are you being so weird about it? Like, why can't you just openly talk about it? So that was a huge red flag. And I wanted to be very accepting and open and like, oh yeah, it's just, but my intuition knew that there was more to the story. And honestly, just that alone with all the other issues combined kind of made my pee-pee a little sad. So we were just like, we had to work through that one. But that was one moment.
Uh-huh.
Should I tell them about when you wore my underwear? Or, well, they don't, I guess, have to know, but I can tell.
I mean, you can,
you might get this and you might not. Patrons
exactly.
only.
Yeah. So to put a pin in that, we're coming back to it, this is related. And I have no idea if I'm going to allow you to, or if I'm going to allow myself to put this on YouTube or not. Could you describe my underwear pre-transition? Because this is something that we talk about a lot.
Okay, so like...
yeah, those were the dark times.
So, I remember that. I remember putting
now
makeup on
I have my own
you.
underwear, so that's very exciting.
Yes, she does. They're very cute.
Thank you. Yes, about the makeup.
Yes. Well, this is another weird thing that I did.
That may or may not make it to the final cut.
I hope it does, though. You know, sometimes girlfriends, like, give their boyfriends makeovers or whatever. Like, it's just, I don't know why that's a thing. And especially now that I think about it, I'm like, maybe it's just kind of weird. But it's like a fun thing to do, you know?
It's
like,
not weird. Guys can wear makeup.
Okay, you're right.
Uh-huh.
You're right.
You know who my audience is.
Not weird. I guess it's just like, I don't know. Let me move on. So anyway, I was like, I'm going to do her makeup. But it was more than just the regular, like, oh, let me put makeup on my boyfriend. Like, it was, I think this person wants me to do their makeup. I don't know why I could sense that, but I could sense that. And so I was like, asked you about it. Mm-hmm. And no. But I was like, I know she wants it. And so again, kind of comes into play where I'm like, it's a little questionable, my actions, because I was like, no, let's do it. And I kind of did push for it a little bit, which is odd, but I did because I felt like you wanted to. So I wanted to give you another opportunity to let me do it. I ended up doing it. And as soon as I like finished the makeup, like she attacked my face.
It was very hot. The way you did my makeup was very, very hot. I remember you leading me to your vanity and like sitting me down, and it was like dimly lit. And
was I trying to sleep with you that night? Like, was it?
I think so, yeah. It was not just doing makeup. It was...
Why would I do it like that, though?
Super doing makeup. It was... Yeah, no.
I don't remember what I was wearing. Like, if I was...
Yeah, I don't remember what you were wearing. I just remember you doing my makeup, which probably psychologically there is something to read into on that, but we're not going to talk too much about it.
Well...
Now...
I do recall doing the makeup as soon as I did, and like she saw herself, like she just started making out with me, and I wanted to be really into it, but I'm not gonna lie, it kind of took me off guard, and I was questioning.
You were not into it.
Why she was so excited, and yeah, so I was confused. One, two, I was like, oh, I can't turn her on. She doesn't get excited like this for me, but she's excited like this now. So that kind of pissed me off, to be honest, and hurt my self-esteem. And I was confused by it. And it was a turnoff for me. Yeah, it was a big turnoff for me to see her like that at the time. Just because at the time that was not who I knew you to be, and I thought it was just a fetish, but then I was starting to see that maybe it was really something more.
It was something.
It was something.
It was something. So at that point, there was something. You had already had the thought, and you have said it, that you thought that I might have just been a gay boy.
I didn't say those words. But I said those words.
Yeah. Was there ever a time that you actually thought in your mind that I could be trans? Or did you always just assume that I was gay for men?
Well, there's a lot to dive into there because there's a couple things. One, and again, this is embarrassing, but shows how far I've come, thanks to you.
We've both come very far. This is big. Oh, wait. Before we get into that, there's something I realized that I want to mention about the makeup. Whose lipstick are you wearing right now?
Whose lipstick am I wearing right now? It's Mila's lipstick.
It is. It's very old.
It looks great.
It does look pretty good. I don't usually wear lipstick like this anymore, but it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, continue, please.
Okay. So back in the day, I definitely did not understand the difference between gender identity and one's, would you say, sexual identity? Sexual
Sexuality.
preference? Sexuality.
Or sexual preference, maybe.
I am learning still.
I think gender identity and sexuality is the most common way to phrase that.
You said gender identity and sexuality. So, to me, yeah, I was really confused by all that anyway. So, originally, yeah, I was like, boy, gay for other boys, and can't be into girls, and that must be the only explanation for why I am not doing the trick, right? So, I was like, but also, then further down the line, I always had thoughts that it's like, you know, I would ask you, have you ever thought about being a woman?
You did ask that.
So it's almost like...
That was pretty late into the relationship, though.
That I asked it.
That you asked me. That's why I'm asking this question. I look like I'm drinking, that this is water. We only have 2 glasses that are not in storage, so she gets carnival glass, and I'm drinking water from a wine glass. So it's fancier.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I would ask you that question. So it's like, at some point I did know that you, like, I felt like you wanted to be a woman, but even when I asked that question, never did the word transgender cross my mind, which I've never thought about until literally just right now. No, I never thought you were transgender. No, it never even crossed my mind.
We're making breakthroughs.
We are making breakthroughs.
The only time I ever remember it coming up between us is we were watching Orange is the New Black. And it was going through, God, what's her name?
Laverne Cox.
Laverne Cox's story, her character's story. Oh. And there was, I don't remember, it's been a while since I've seen it. There's a pivotal moment at the end where she has transitioned for a while. She looks like Laverne Cox as we know her, and not, is it her twin brother?
These are twin brother.
Brother, yeah, who plays her in the pre-transition scenes. And she's walking in with like a bunch of shopping. I think I could be butchering this, but she makes it known to her wife that she wants to get bottom surgery, and it's like the breaking point between her and her wife. And I think I cried.
No, you did.
And I asked you, you know, if I didn't have a dick, would you still love me? And it took you off guard.
I never even thought about that again until just now.
Yeah.
Why wasn't that more obvious?
And then you said, well, yeah, I would still love you. But it was...
It
was a weird question. I could tell that you could tell that it was a weird question for me to ask you.
I could tell it was a weird question, but I also remember the way it was framed, or at least in my mind, the way I was framing it was like, if something happened to you medically and your dick got chopped off, or you were
Right.
paralyzed and you couldn't use your dick.
Trans people often make those same mental gymnastics before they transition.
So I was kind of picturing it that way, like, oh, if you were in a tragic accident and something happened and you couldn't use it anymore. Which, not like it was getting used anyway. But
Fair.
I was like, well, and you know what? Even that answering that question then was hard because I was like, that
it was not an immediate answer.
But also I'm like, but yes, I would still love you, and I would not leave you for that if it was something that, like, your dick fell off for some reason, you couldn't help it. Right, because in my brain that wasn't saying that you were a woman, you were just asking what happened if your pee-pee stopped.
And that's true. That's.
But I remember you asked me that, and it's so weird now to think back on.
Yeah.
Why didn't I
had
like...
forgotten about that till just now, actually.
That was at least a year or a year and a half before you came out to me.
Oh, yeah. That was relatively early on in the transition. That's like an earlier season.
You were not
of the
transitioned
show.
yet.
Or, yeah, I'm sorry. That was early on in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the transition now.
Well, wait, let me ask you. Well, how did you feel when you asked me that question? One, what did you want me to say? And how did you feel after
You
I
said
said
what
I
I
said?
wanted you to say. That's a good question. I think part of the reason, well, there are obvious reasons why that scene struck such a chord with me. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I felt very much the same as you did in our relationship. There was an obvious, massive flaw in that relationship. But for all the things that romantics describe as the important things in a relationship, we had all of that. Mm-hmm. We were absolutely best friends. We enjoyed each other's company, had fun with like $0 at all times.
Unconditional love.
It was truly unconditional love and continues to be. Lovely. So my greatest fear at that time was, well, I guess there were two great fears of mine at that time. Losing you, and at some point it coming out that I was trans. And I don't even know if I would have used those words at the time.
Probably not.
That was before I had been looking stuff up forever and reading on trans people forever. But I still had a very, very hard time considering myself as being trans. And Laverne Cox's character, what's her name on that show?
Oh, of course.
It's been a long time. I can't remember anyone's name on that show because the last few seasons were a dumpster fire. But her character really was the first time I ever saw an actual trans woman being represented on television or in movies or anything. And so that was already kind of like a big deal for me. And I'm sure subconsciously some gears were turning.
Yeah.
And so I think I was very, I always wanted to be a woman. I never wanted to be a man, even though, again, I wouldn't have described myself as trans at the time. So I knew that in dating you, my hope was that you could pray the gay away from me. My fear was you wouldn't, and then I would destroy our relationship because of the fact that I just couldn't like man up and do whatever was necessary in doing that, which I obviously have no idea what that even is. But
yeah.
Yeah, so I think those were the things going through my mind, but it's very hard for me to translate those thoughts consciously now because they were so jumbled then and they were so kind of all over the place.
So when you asked and I responded the way I did you feel any sort of relief after asking? At least
kind of.
Just, yeah. I didn't know what you were really asking.
Kind of.
At least knowing what.
It gave me a false sense of comfort that... I'll be honest with you, I've never told you this before. This is more juicy stuff that we may or may not keep in the final edit.
Patrons only.
Oh my God. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Plug. There was a part of me that from relatively-ish early on in the relationship, and it might have just, and I think it was, me being very, interpreting the relationship in the way that I wanted to interpret it, and in doing that, interpreting you in the way that I wanted to interpret you. So I thought that there was a chance that you could be bi. And in kind of building into things slowly the way that I was trying to do, so introducing the fetish to you and framing it that way, the underwear, the framing that question to you from that episode of Orange is the New Black, I was kind of hoping that maybe I was building into that.
Yeah.
And so you're giving me that answer did kind of give me a false security.
Oh, well, fuck me.
No. It's nothing about you. That's me putting what I wanted on another person. So it's fucked up. Don't do that. But, yeah, I think if I think back on it, I think that was some relief in hearing you say that it wasn't, me physically that you were into, but me, whatever that is, that you were into.
Which is true and still true. And it's also still complicated for me because girls are hot. You are very hot. As a woman, you are like hotter now than you have ever been. Although I will still stand by, you were an attractive person. You've always been an attractive person to me. Is her meowing okay?
We can remove that in post. We can't remove that in post. But that's a thing people on like movie sets say, so I assume it means something. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. Yes. That was actually really cute. That can make it to post. If you could go back and tell yourself in the past anything, and I'm not defining when in the past that is, but pre me coming out to you at some point, what would you tell to your past self?
Ask more, say less.
Oh my God, wow, that is, you win the Ally Award. That is
really?
Yes. That is a good political line. Is there anything else?
For the record, I have never heard that. I thought I made it up. I'm just kidding. It's a super common thing to say, but
it's a good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, in general, not just about trans issues, but
yeah, you're right.
Interpersonal issues.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. But what I mean by that when I say ask more, say less, I put a lot on you, like a lot of accusations, or I assumed a lot about you, which I
did too. We just talked about.
Correct. On most of it, however, regardless of anything, it's not fair to do that to people. So even though I had very strong intuitions about what was going on, I should have asked you more questions and probably done it in a way that would maybe make you feel safe to answer them honestly. Instead of me making statements like that put you down. So I put her down a lot and I didn't even realize it, but at the time I was just very frustrated because my partner was not fulfilling my needs that I needed, like my male partner to fulfill, and certain even like personality traits and stuff like that I was picking up on that were like very feminine that pissed me off because it just all tied into this whole thing. So I would not have put you down so much for your physical appearance. I would not put you down for just like the certain things that you would say or do. I feel really, really bad about that now. Like a lot of the comments I made that probably could very well still affect you today and give you some complexes today. So I'm very, very sorry for that. And I wish I would have asked more questions, and instead of, because when I would ask you questions like, have you ever thought about being a woman, blah, 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 it it was definitely me kind of attacking you. Like, it was aggressive, I guess. It felt aggressive would be the word I would use.
Accusational.
Yeah,
kind of accusational.
And so my approach should have been different and more of like, hey, like, I noticed these things. Why don't you like to get your hair cut? Is there a reason why you won't let me buy clothes for you and you don't like to wear cologne? Is there anything maybe that you'd want to talk about?
The cologne was a big one.
There's a lot of things. So it's like, I wish I would have asked more questions. Not that you even would have been ready to answer them, but I just wish I would have phrased things differently.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Thank you.
All right, that's all heavy. Why are we wearing the same clothes? Let's lighten it up a little bit.
We went shopping together.
Yes, we did.
I don't know if this was from our first shopping trip.
I think it was. I think it might be from our very first shopping trip together.
Our very first shopping trip.
I have not worn this shirt in that many years, probably. It's been a long time.
It's a great shirt.
It is. I do like this shirt. Yeah. I used to wear this shirt not pre-transition, but whenever I was still in the closet a lot, because it's pretty gender neutral, I think.
Mm-hmm. Your titties, though, were hard to hide.
Wow.
Just throwing that out there.
At the time, they were still developing.
So our first shopping trip, we went to a mall that was like an hour and a half away or an hour away, just so that we could go.
And it was an awful mall. I'm just going to say where it was. So we went to Daytona, and if you've ever been to Daytona, well, I don't know. There's probably some people from Daytona. Well I don't know. Anyone who watches this channel
I'm not somebody
who is from Daytona probably feels the same way as I do about Daytona, in that it is a sad, sad reflection of like a ghost of party culture from like the Van Halen era. So it's this sad...
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
Yes. Like, you can tell maybe at one time it was a super fun place to be, but now it is broken and sad. Mm-hmm. And the mall there is garbage. It is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Hank Williams Jr. song.
Again, that's for a specific part of the audience, but if you know it, you know it.
Yeehaw. Yeah. So, yeah, it's crummy mall, but, oh God, that's so weird to think back on now. Because you were not in girl mode at the time.
I was not in girl mode. And in fact, we went to Victoria's Secret to buy my first pair of not saggy diaper underwear. Which, very sweet and adorable. But we had to pretend like I was buying stuff for you. Mm-hmm. Which means I ended up buying you underwear.
Well, and then there were some stores too where like I would let you pick it out, but you wouldn't be the one to check it out. Like the clothing stores, because there was no way.
We squared up. It was just very behind the scenes.
We squared up, but and also though I still feel like the people working there knew. Unless if I was
some
just
of them
really,
did. I know. I felt like
in
it
the
too.
Air. I was like,
but I also don't know like.
They probably saw us walking around like me.
Yeah, true.
Really well.
I wasn't on HRT yet at that time, so.
No, but you're just very blessed. But.
Thank you. That's a story for a different time. I've never talked about that either, and I'm not going to right now.
Not right now.
They have no idea what I'm talking about.
Patrons
Continue.
Only. So yeah, but anyway. Well, so obviously her style was heavily influenced by yours truly, so much that at the time we have a couple matching shirts.
Yeah, I don't know how many.
The other one you were pissed at me because I got the size you wanted, and
it was an extra large, and even at the time it was a little big on me. I recently put that in the donate bag. I know.
Well, it doesn't fit you, so it makes sense.
Does not fit me.
And I love that shirt. Good on you at the time, though. Still, I love the pictures we took of you in that shirt.
If I find a picture, I'll put it up here. Yes. That was the very first picture we took of me in girl mode, and I uploaded to Reddit.
Album of you.
I know. I have more of those pictures somewhere, but
you put it on Reddit?
That one, yes. That picture got put on Reddit. That was the first picture I ever uploaded to Reddit.
What was that like for you? How affirming was that? Because I know you got them upvotes.
Oh yeah, no, I fucking loved it. Yeah, early transition. I think I don't know, maybe this is just my experience, but I know that there are several others out there. a lot of my early transition was uploading pictures to Reddit, because I did transition for a long time in the closet, a year plus some, thank you. And Reddit, because it was semi-anonymous, because it does have a pretty big trans community, and I'm not active there anymore at all, but at the time, I used to upload a lot to Reddit, and that was the beginning of all of that. Aww. We straightened my hair.
Yeah, I got in trouble for that, but I wanted to see what it was like. And
so one of our roommates is another curly girl. One of our roommates at the time was another curly girl. And she... Beautiful sunfish she is. Yes, she's wonderful. And if she sees this, she knows that she's just like the most wonderful person in the world. But she got onto you. Like, haha, but seriously, don't put heat on her hair.
And I was like, haha, but seriously, that kind of pisses me off. Because at the time, I was just like, well, if you don't like it, why don't you get it? Which she did step in, and she did teach her to do your hair, which thank God, because I did not know.
She is the only reason I know how to do my hair. Her, and again, Reddit, which the amazing, I think it's r/curly hair, was influential in those early days of me growing my hair out. Yeah. For real.
But matching sweaters, and I still like the sweaters, so it's like...
Yeah, I also like this sweater. I don't wear this color much anymore. Early in my transition, I wore a lot more like maroon and purple. No, I don't as much anymore.
Everybody vote yes to maroon. Nice little boob touch on accident there.
Thank you.
Hey, patrons only.
Hey, what was that like teaching me how to girl, how to woman?
Just like that. Like, I would just...
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Just like that. Like, sometimes I would be like... It's just my dynamic with Mila, too. Like, sometimes I am bitchy to Mila and huffy and puffy. And it just... And she's all sassy and whiny to me. And so we have our things.
It is our things.
But so it's like when I was teaching you, sometimes I get frustrated if you wouldn't do what I wanted you to do. And
we have a good dom-sub relationship, just not sexually.
Right. So I would very much tell her what needed to be done. And it would be one of those things that we end up laughing about it. But I would get frustrated. But it would be funny. At least for me, sometimes. So sometimes frustrating. Kind of just weird because I'm like, okay, this is really freaking weird, but...
It is really freaking weird.
It's like, but here we are. It was kind of fun, though. It was fun to watch you improve, for sure. Oh, my gosh. Like, it's so different now. Also, just the makeup that you had to use before and what you can do now...
That's true.
...is different, too. Your skin's so much different. So it's like watching you, like, glow up. It made me really proud. So when I saw you, like, do some of the things I taught you, it made me feel good because I was like, oh, I help with that. But then also,
I could never have done it without you.
But you did a lot on your own, all by yourself, too. And that was just made me proud because it's like, she is hearing what I'm saying. And she's, like, exploring more on her own and, like, going to be better at this than even I could be. So.
I appreciate that. But to brag on you some, since I did allow you to brag on me for, like, 10 minutes, I don't know how it could ever be accomplished, but every trans woman needs someone like you in their life. I never, ever, ever in 1,000 years would I have become as well adjusted. And, you know, it's hard. There's so many unwritten rules to how you should do this or that, what it is to be a woman, you know, things that... I guess traditionally, like, mothers teach their daughters and other women teach other women, that as a 28-year-old who has, to use TERF terminology, been socialized male, you don't have any of that. And you and the roommate who is perhaps watching this video and my sister, I would never, ever, ever have had the confidence to do any of those things or to try any of those things. And there's a certain sense of safety that comes too in, I think, especially in early transition, in having a cis girlfriend, and I use that in the platonic sense, but having a cis girlfriend or cis girlfriends to go out and do things with, because I was certainly I was not up on the etiquette or protocol of how I was supposed to act or anything. And there's just a sense of, I guess what I'm trying to get at, there's a sense of safety that comes into play if a cis person who might be transphobic sees a trans, in this case, a trans woman with a cis woman. It's a safety in numbers thing.
Yeah.
And I've never really talked about that very much. I'm kind of like working through this verbally right now. But you did give me a sense of safety and comfort and love that is just so, so necessary. And then, like, even going to the bathroom, which is a huge deal, you teaching me how to do makeup and stuff. I had worn makeup before that I had snuck and won't. Yeah, I know.
For me?
Shocker.
You've never told me that.
I thought I told you.
No. Before you came out to me, you were sneaking my makeup?
It wasn't just you.
What? Who was it? Y'all all about to learn some stuff. All this makeup snatcher. What's expensive? What? Whose? Where?
I snuck makeup anytime I had an opportunity
Where?
to.
Me? Who else?
Oh,
Your
this
sister?
is not going on the video.
Your mom?
I don't know where she kept her makeup.
Whose did you steal besides me?
Bum, bum, bum. Let's move on to the next thing. I thank God that there are no pictures of those days when I had no idea what I was doing.
Be curious to see.
Oh, it was bad. I know for one that I would just like pancake powder my face because that would make the stubble go away. But getting back on track.
Yes.
You were wonderful to me. Once you had made that switch in your mind that you mentioned of, well, this is what's going to happen. This is what we're going to do. Having that support meant everything. And I would never, ever have had the confidence to do any of those things. I would never, ever have known even where to begin with so much. And like going into stores, I don't remember the first time we did it, but somewhere in there, the first time we tried on clothes together, and like, if I had just gone in there, I would never have done that. Like, I needed that from you to, I remember one of the first times we went in, and I think the woman there knew what was up, and she was like, oh, you can go in there with your friend if you want to.
Yeah, that's sweet. I appreciate people like that.
There were a lot of people like that, like little people over the years. My pharmacist early on was amazing. Yeah. And that's what it is. It's like the little, this is turning into a nice like Hallmark moment that I didn't mean for it to, but that's what it takes. Like all the little moments. You're a big moment. My other friends were big moments, but like all the people in general that went into making me feel safe and comfortable, that is like, that makes a bigger difference than I can like describe. Not everyone gets that, and I feel very, very, and of course there have been bad times with different people in public and elsewhere. Yeah. But overwhelmingly, the experience has been pretty good for me. So, since we've had that Hallmark moments of which that I will have to cut out because A, we are nearing on 2 hours of this, and B, there's a lot of ums and pauses and not knowing where I'm going with things because I'm rambling. There were 2 other questions I wanted to end on, and I don't remember. Number 1, because this goes along with what we were just talking about. What would you tell have I ever used the word cishet around you before?
No idea what that means.
Cisgender, heterosexual.
Cishet, okay.
So you are cishet.
Cute, cool.
Yeah. Some people don't like it.
Cishet. Who's some people?
I think it's cute. I don't know. The ethereal internet.
Don't be mad at me. Okay.
No, it's not mad at you. Some cishet people find being called cishet.
I am fine with cishet.
Okay. So what would you tell all of I'll use the full terminology. So what would you tell all of the cisgender, heterosexual, partners out there who have found or are finding themselves in situations similar to one that you have been in with me. I know I'm putting a lot on you.
One, that whatever emotions you're feeling are valid and it's okay to feel that way. So even the negative ones, because I think for me, I had to come to terms with that. Obviously, I said some very horrible things. Some things I didn't even share with you guys whenever she first came out.
Not that many.
But enough. And, you know, that really sucked that I did that. But it's like also coming to understand that, like, it is okay to feel frustrated. It is whatever you feel is okay, even if it's like offensive to them. Like you're going through this big change. It doesn't mean like I wasn't trying to like direct any of that on them. I'm just trying to tell you whatever you're feeling, acknowledge it for what it is, and that's the only way to work through it, to work through why you feel that way and like to move past it. So you have to acknowledge it. Even the negative feelings, it is okay, and you're not a bad person. So I will also say, like, be open. If it's something that, like, for you, you could still be with that person and your romantic relationship is not going to be affected, there's nothing wrong with that either. Embrace it. Like, if that's something that is going to work for you guys, even better. That's okay, too. If you're like me and for whatever reason it's not going to work out romantically and you do have to end that relationship, like it's going to be very hard, but you also need to know that like that is okay. Even if what your partner wants is different, it is okay for you to make that decision for yourself. You're not abandoning this person just because you're no longer dating them, and you have to respect your own needs just as much as you do their needs and whatever their new needs might be. So I guess just that, and just that, like I said, basically, whatever you're going through, whatever your reaction is, like, it's okay. But I would just encourage you to be able to have the conversation with your partner and to hear them out. And, you know, even though you're having these negative feelings, maybe, like, there is a lot that we can learn. And once you have a better understanding of what they're going through, I think it's easier for you to come to terms with it and kind of figure out how you're going to proceed from there. But
you didn't rehearse that at all either. She didn't know these questions before me asking them.
I think that's pretty obvious, but
no, you've done great. You have done phenomenally. I feel like you do better with this sort of format than I do.
Thank you.
You didn't, but you.
I did. I already just wiped it off.
Yeah.
I have a sweat beard too.
You can't tell on the camera. This camera sucks. All right. So last question.
Yeah.
Kind of building off of that some. We are moving, as I brought up here. I know.
We say it.
I know. We've cried enough. We're not going to do it right this second. Unless you need to. I'm not going to make you not cry.
I feel okay.
As you said, you are free to feel however you feel. But how do you foresee our future moving forward?
Me and you together, me and you as our individual lives.
Our future. Yeah. Our relationship, where we will be relative to each other in our lives going forward.
I have no doubts that we will always be just this close, if not even closer, because, I mean, life's going to keep happening. We're going to keep having new experiences that I'm going to lean on her about, call her up, tell her about, and you're going to do the same with me. So I feel like, if anything, we're just going to keep growing together. I mean, you and your individual life and me and mine, but I definitely think our relationship's going to continue to just get better and better. If anything, this transition, it's honestly been a huge blessing for me. It's very sad in a lot of ways about like our romantic relationship and the things that has led to, but at the same time, like, I would not trade it for the world. Like, our relationship is way better now than it could ever be. Like, this is the best friend you could ever have in the world. Like, I'm not closer to anybody. Like, she unconditionally loves me still, and I unconditionally love her still. So just to know that I have that with anybody is huge. So I'm very grateful for that, and I think that we're still gonna hang out all the time. And it's just one of those things too, like, anybody in my life, like, they all know about Mila, and they all know how I feel about Mila, and that I have a unique relationship with Mila, and then I'm going to keep telling her that I love her, and we're going to hug each other, and that's all fine, and we're just really, really close friends. So it's like, I got to make sure, and I do make sure that the people in my life respect that and respect my relationship with her, because if you don't, we ain't going to get down like that, so you ain't going to, we can't hang out. So, you know, I'm always going to kind of prioritize our friendship and our relationship, I hope.
Yeah.
So.
Me too.
Now, what about you?
You would think that I've had time to mentally prepare, but I haven't. I haven't thought about how I would answer any of these questions. I do think that, well, I've told you 1,000 times before that you're my family. You are, I don't know what the word is. I wish there were a good word that encapsulated all of that, but there really isn't. You are my sister. I do feel like we're sisters, but obviously the shared trauma, the shared experiences, everything, like, it's a very unique sort of relationship, and it's, you know, it's a tale as old as time. There have been straight people and queer people who for one reason or another end up in relationships with each other, and it becomes obvious that it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But I think that there's like kind of a certain kind of beauty to that. And I am really excited to see, you know, what that means in the future. I do think that we will continue forever to be as close as we are now. That even if you were in, I don't know what's geographically opposite of here, Hanoi. If you were in Hanoi and I was here in Florida, which I would much rather that be reversed, but whatever, that we would still be as close as we are now. I do think that we will continue. I know that we'll continue to communicate obnoxiously frequently about every little thing.
Every little thing.
I know that we will continue to be in each other's lives through all of the, like, big stuff, the important stuff, the sad stuff. In a lot of ways, I mean, I know that we never got married, but it is like a matter of for better, for worse, for richer, poor. Make you cry on camera.
I'm not crying.
But I really believe that, and I don't know what box that fits in. I don't know what terminology to use, but I don't really give a shit either. Obviously, where I am in life, that's like well out at this point. I'm just excited to see whatever it is that's going to be. I think it'll be awesome.
That's exactly how I feel about you. That's what I say when we have unconditional love. Like, when we were dating, people that have been married for years and years were like, oh man,
That's
what you
true.
guys got is really special. Like, that's just the way we are with each other. Like, it's, maybe it sounds like we're bragging, and I don't care, maybe I am, but like, it's not something you find with everybody. It's like, even people who are married and have made it work have told me before that they didn't necessarily have a love like we have. So it's something that I'm never gonna let go of it. Like, just like they said, hold on to it forever, and I absolutely will, and would not want to live my life without her. So we will always be just as close.
Yeah.
No matter what.
I agree.
Beep.
Just the tip. Okay.
Oh, just the tip. Yeah, we even get that far. What?
I don't know. I don't know how to, like, respond to that. Like, I want to flex, but then, like, anyway.
Yeah,
Well, that has been it for Mila Wren on 11/24/2020 at 9:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to end it here. Gina wants very badly for me to put all of the outtakes on Patreon as an exclusive, and I may do that.
Patrons only.
Of which, I guess she will not have access to, but that's a conversation for another day.
I will be a patron when I quit giving you my rent money.
Well, you don't give me rent money. We cannot have people on my channel think that I'm a landlord.
Like
that's another conversation. No.
Mila hates landlords.
But my landlord follows me. We can't include this part on here.
Except for you. But she secretly doesn't like anything about what you do. Okay.
It's not very secret.
It's not a secret.
That is going to be it. I don't know why I'm ending like that, like it's like a TV special or something. It's not. I can literally cut it at any given moment, and we'll probably just do like an awkward like, and then it's done. Yeah, you can talk to the camera while I decide what we're doing.
I have a lot of issues to talk about.
Yeah, see, this is what you wanted now.
F Trump, F neo-Nazis, F racism, F taxes, no, F taxing the poor and pro-tax the rich. Communism, yes please. This is Mila's channel, by the way. Her words, not mine.
Well, it was your words, so now you're on the same blacklist that I'm on.
Yeah, shoot.